This is a car. And it's not just any car, it's an Odoo car. I quite like it. But let's say that I want to sell it. How can I sell it? Well, I could set a price for it, someone gives me the money, I give them the car, and that's it. Or I could auction it. So whoever gives me the most amount of money gets a car. I could rent it or lease it if it was for a longer period of time. If I had a lot of time, I could become a taxi driver and this can be my car. Or we can go wild and say that I can create a car sharing service and this is the only car in the fleet. The point is that there are many ways to sell a car, and granted, I extended the definition of the word sell, but the point still stands. Welcome to our talk on how to sell your services or our distinct invoicing methods. My name is David Khan. I'm a services expert at Odoo. So why are we here? Well, even more so than a car, intangible services have many ways to be sold. And at Odoo, we have the challenge to offer our clients the most amount of ways they can sell their services. This has an effect over their revenue, over how well adept their employees are going to be in the system, and it depends on their business needs and the business context of the business itself. That's why so far we have offered the following invoicing policies or ways we can sell our services in Odoo: prepaid fixed price, based on timesheets, and based on milestones. Let's have a quick refresh of them. Well, the first one, prepaid fixed price, you might be familiar with it if you know how our consultancy packs work at Odoo. You can buy a 25-hour, 50-hour, 100-hour pack, but at the end, the point is that those consultancy hours won't be delivered until the pack is paid. As the name implies, you have to first pay before you deliver any of the hours. Then we have the based on timesheets invoicing method, which works in the opposite way. You have to first deliver the hours so then you can invoice your customer. And this is a similar way to work as a lawyer or an accountant might work. They have a project, they work whatever amount of hours they had to work to be successful at the project, and then they invoice their client. Finally, but certainly not least, is the based on milestones invoicing method. For this invoicing policy, you have to enter the sales order line, deliver the hours, and then you can invoice your client. You can work in tandem with your project app by setting a certain amount of milestones that you will track yourself. But the point is that those milestones are then delivered and it allows you to have, a lot of flexibility on when and how to invoice your client. I will talk a little more in detail about that later. But for now, I know you understand well what I just explained and that it's clear, but I want to make it crystal clear. So I'm going to quickly jump into this database where I have created a sales order, or a quotation rather, with each of the invoicing policies, based on timesheets, prepaid fixed price, and based on milestones. What I'm going to do is confirm this quotation and just see what happens. Well, first thing you might notice is that the only line in blue, meaning that it's ready to be invoiced, is the prepaid fixed price invoicing policy. That is to be expected because, as I explained, if I want to deliver any of these hours, I need to first invoice my client. So I'm going to do just that, create an invoice for this line and this line only. Within the invoice, I can select how many units I'm going to invoice my client, but to keep things simple, I'm going to keep it at 5. Then, of course, I can go back to my sales order and I can even enter the task that was created upon the confirmation of the quotation to deliver said hours. I can deliver whatever amount I want, but since I already invoiced the 5 hours, let's just say that I worked 5 hours. Save, and I can go back to my quotation. 5 hours have been ordered, 5 hours have been delivered, and 5 hours have been invoiced. But there's nothing left to be invoiced. For that, I need to either deliver the based on timesheets invoicing method or the based on milestone service. Let's go to the based on timesheets invoicing method because I want to keep on working. And I'm going to go to my task created upon the confirmation of this quotation. And I'm going to deliver, or timesheet in other words, 3 hours. Today I just worked 8 hours total. So if I go back to my sales order, you will see that the sales order line is now in blue because I have 3 hours delivered and ready to be invoiced. I'm not gonna invoice this customer just yet for these hours because it just so happens that I finish some milestones along the way. As you know, and as I explained before, to deliver the milestones, I need to enter the sales order line and say that I am delivering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, whatever the amount is. And then the sales order turns blue, the sales order line turns blue, and I can create an invoice for both sales order lines. However, if you have paid close attention, you will notice that I did not configure those milestones. And that is on purpose, because I may or may have not lied a little by saying this is a based on milestones service, when, as you can see, it's actually based on delivered quantity or manual. And that's because on the B16 we have 4 invoicing policies. A old milestone invoicing policy that changes the name to based on delivered quantity or manual, better reflecting what is actually happening. And we have an improved, revamped, and extended based on milestone invoicing policy. Before going to that, I want to make a parenthesis on the quote-unquote old milestone or manual invoicing policy and say why we kept it in the system. Well, as I said before, we want to offer our clients the most amount of ways to invoice their customers. And this is still a invoicing policy that gives some added value to businesses. Sometimes you need the flexibility that delivering the milestones manually offers. For example, let's say that I have a very tight deadline and I need to invoice my customer a certain amount of milestones, whatever has been achieved at that point, no matter of what is going on from the project management side of things. This invoicing policy allows me to select the amount of milestones that I want to deliver and I want to invoice my customer, with giving me the flexibility that I need in this case. On the other hand, if I don't know when I'm going to invoice my customer, then I might do it before or after hours milestones, anything is delivered, then this is the invoicing policy I need. With that being said, let's go to the actual start of the show, which is the new milestone invoicing policy. And to explain all its features and advantages, I have created this quotation that needs a little bit of an explanation. Let's pretend that I own a construction company and I'm working on this project for a client that wants to renovate their house. For that, I set up this renovation services service product, let's say, which is based on milestone and will create upon the confirmation of the quotation a project under this project template, house renovation. As a matter of fact, most of the house renovations, they follow the same structure, they follow the same steps, so I can afford myself to have a very standard product and a very standard project template. The last thing that I want to mention about this product is that the sales price, $50,000, is based on my own experience on what a milestone or section of a house renovation costs, and of course, a little markup for myself. So my quotation is composed of 3 sales order lines, one for each of the milestones that I'm going to deliver my client, and each milestone, of course, is a section of the house: the kitchen, the living room, and the patio. Let's confirm it. Okay, upon the confirmation of this quotation, a project will have been created and a few tasks based on the project template will also have been created. Let's go to this smart button though that will tell me what are the milestones of this project. And we can see a few new things. Besides the automatic creation of the milestones for each of the sell order lines inheriting the description of those sell order lines, we see that they have been linked to each of the sell order lines they belong to. That means that now the milestones will have not only a link with the sales order, the sales aspect of the project, but an automatic link with that sales aspect of the project. Next to it, we have a column called quantity that also deserves its own explanation, but I'm not going to go in there just yet. Let's see some other aspects of this sales order. Well, as you can see, the quantity of each of these milestones or sell order lines differ according to the cost of that section of the project. So my kitchen, in this case, the renovation is a little bit more simple than usual. We just have to change some appliances, the floor and tiles. It's gonna cost me less than $50,000. That's why I'm gonna deliver 0.75 quantities of a normal milestone, while in the living room, it being a completely standard renovation, I'm going to deliver one full milestone. The patio, on the other hand, as you can see, is divided into the pool and the terrace installation, and that is going to be more challenging for us. That's why we increased the price of this milestone to $75,000, and the quantity ordered reflects that. But okay, I think everything has been explained as far as this quotation sell order goes, and then we can go into the project itself. Okay, I have also created one task per milestone, with the exception of the patio, of course, that has its own subtasks. And that's because I want to make my project as simple to understand, not only for myself, but also for my client as possible. Each task has its own number of allocated hours that I have estimated on what should take me to finish the task. And what's cool about this invoicing policy is that I can track the time consumption progress of this task without affecting the delivered quantity in the sales order. So I might have worked 200 hours on the installation of the kitchen, or around 50% of what I estimated would take me to complete the task. But as a matter of fact, this task is already done. The installation is perfect, everyone is happy with it, and we can move on to other tasks. Once I save it, I can go on to explain something even better: the tangible link between the project and the milestone. So this task has a field called milestone, and it's what will allow me to link the progress of this task with the milestone itself. That's exactly what I'm going to do. The kitchen will go with the kitchen, of course. The living room will go with the living room milestone. And finally, the patio milestone will go with the patio task and all of its subtasks. Okay. So why would I do that? Well, let's say that I want to focus on one section of the project and forget about the rest later. If I want to do that, I can go directly to my milestone, and from there go to each of the tasks, or have a view of all the tasks that have been related to that milestone. So my client wants to have the kitchen done as soon as possible. They want to start cooking like a true chef, and as a project manager, I should put all of my manpower and time into that. After some time, of course, this task will have to be moved to the done stage. And since this is the only task related to the milestone, that means the milestone itself will have been reached. So I can go directly here, edit this, mark it as reached, save, and once it's saved, something magical will have happened. Because if I go back to my sales order, you can see that the sales order line for the kitchen has been fully delivered since that milestone has been reached. So let's do that for the rest of the milestones. The living room, I'm gonna focus on that. Look at the tasks, mark it as done, go back, and then mark the milestone as reached. With the patio, same story. I'm done with the terrace, I'm done with the pool, and that of course means that I'm done with the parent task, the patio itself. So I can go back to my milestones, mark it as reached, and move on with the sales aspect of the project. Everything has been seamlessly delivered automatically to the sales order, and that means that there won't be any confusion between when it was a milestone delivered. Should it be invoiced now? No, everything is handled by Odoo. And I could stop here, but I want to cover some corner cases, because with construction projects, as many other projects, we can always incur in non-foreseen costs. So in this case, my client is not fully happy with how we installed their terrace. They want more luxurious materials. And when it comes to the pool, well, they want a bigger pool because their kids are really interested in using it. That, of course, involves more cost, a higher cost for the project, and some of that cost will have to be transferred into the sales order, into my client. It is not my fault that they wanted a bigger pool, after all. So, instead of changing the order quantity within my sales order, or manually changing the delivered quantity here, as I would do with the manual invoicing policy, I can do something else. Let's jump right into the milestone for the pool/patio and change this quantity column that will allow me to do what I'm trying to do. So as you can see, it is automatically set at 100%, and what that means is that once I finish a milestone, it would deliver 100% of the the order quantities of said milestone. But if my costs, let's say, doubled, I could change this quantity to 200%. If I go back to my sales order, you see now that the delivered quantity is not 1.5, it is 3. That means that once I invoice my client, I should be able to invoice not $75,000, but $150,000. And it makes a lot of sense, but let's see it in practice. I'm going to create an invoice that is going to be a regular invoice. And as you can see, the quantity invoiced here is 3, so the subtotal is $150,000. I'm sure you will agree with me when I say that this is an improved milestone invoicing policy, as I'm sure you will agree with me when I say the following. We have improved the tracking by adding this quantity by percentage field, because not every milestone is born equally. So milestones, as the patio, they involve a higher cost and weight within the project. We have improved the delivery to the sales orders. Now it's done automatically. And all around, we have improved the way to sell our clients, because we are less likely to make mistakes on when a milestone is delivered. It is easier for them to understand how our project is progressing, and it's easier for us to understand that as well. Added to that, it gives us a lot of tools on how to manage the cost or budget of our project, which, by the way, it is something my colleague Gilles Pangas will talk about in about an hour. So don't miss his talk. I'm sure you'll be very interested to hear about it. As of for me, this talk has reached its end, but I'm going to stay here to answer any of your questions. So don't be afraid to send them over, and I'll see you in a moment.
I would suggest whoever asked that question to come by the services and HR booth, because my direct answer is no. However, we can look more into it if that person has time, and we can also contact an HR expert about it.
Mm, okay. So is it possible to have multiple line or task in a sales order and group multiple tasks automatically to milestones by milestone?
Group multiple tasks automatically to milestones. I don't think it's exactly as described, but you can indeed have different tasks related to one milestone. Actually, in this presentation, I had subtasks that were related to the patio milestone, and they were only marked as done, let's say, when I finish all of the subtasks. So in a way, that's a way you can group your tasks with subtasks, and how it's done automatically, where if you have a good project template, then it's as quickly as that.
Nice. Mm, don't hesitate if you have more questions. Still something to write on.
Heavy talk, you know. We have something.
Yeah, but it's a long question, so I'm waiting for them to finish.
No pressure, guys.
Okay, I think the question is done. So let's say your service is mixed, like selling and implementing Odoo, where one part is milestone based and another is not, and the last one is monthly subscription. How will you manage to do so?
Okay. How I would do so is I would set up different services. So one is based on milestone, and the other one is a monthly
Yeah,
subscription.
yeah, this is the where one is milestone based, another part is not, and the last one is monthly subscription.
Okay. So we have three different kinds of invoicing. One is milestone, which is what we focus on in this talk. Another one will be, let's say, based on timesheets. Another one will be a subscription. You can have different sales order lines, and depending on how you set your services or how you want it to be, you can even create from those sales order lines tasks within the same product.
Okay.
That way, it's all grouped in one place.
Um, is it possible to create milestone before the sales order, like not really based on a product, for example, not?
Hmm. Very good question. So before the sales order, that will be quite tricky. However, you can have unbeatable milestones, but that goes against the main advantages of this feature. So if you want to track by milestones and just not have an unbeatable,
Mhm.
maybe manually unlink a milestone from the sell order line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm, I'm not sure if we are done with the question. I don't think any. I don't see any edit currently. So
Okay. Well, if people have more questions, they can, of course, pass by the services booth and we'll attend them.
thank you very much.
Well, thank you.